Death, and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm Courtney,
I'm MK.
and how are you?
I am good.
Excellent.
I I don't know. I just feel like I'm in this weird space where nothing exists. Like I'm very stressed out, but I'm at the point where I no longer care about being stressed out and whatever
Hmm.
happens will happen and just I feel like every time it's sunny, I don't care about anything.
That's so nice for you.
I mean it's not hot. Hot is different. Then I'm
Right.
stressed out. But when it's sunny and cool and a nice early summer day, then I'm like, you know what? I don't care if I fail at everything. It's beautiful outside.
Today is an okay day,
Yeah.
even if the world is ending.
So that's where I'm at this current moment is that literally nothing is real.
Like, at least you're having a good day, though. So, that's a positive.
How are you?
I'm well. I'm well. I no longer am in denial about where the world's existence because things are better than they were in my life. Um, but I had last week, I had the most New Orleans epitome day that I could have imagined.
Oh boy.
Um, it was amazing. It was everything I've wanted since I went down there, which I understand was like 2.5 weeks ago, not a lifetime ago.
Right.
But um, well, to be fair, I started my day in a pit of depression, but I came out of that and we went and had so much crawfish. I
Mm.
haven't had crawfish in 6 years. The last time I had crawfish was at my law school graduation.
Oh
Like,
my God.
it
My
was time.
dad, my dad made jambalaya last night,
Oh,
with alligator, chicken sausage,
mm,
shrimp, and langoustine.
so good. So
So
good.
good.
Maybe I'll make some jambalaya soon. We're not allowed to buy groceries because Rachel has like two freezers full of food. And so we have to use what she has before we can buy things. But maybe she has jambalaya somewhere. She has tons of
Yeah.
sausage. So, oh, maybe I'll
Mm.
make red beans and rice. I am epitome, I'm telling you. And so we
Yes.
had so much crawfish. Like literally we got there, we just kept ordering crawfish, and Nick
Yeah.
left because he had to drop off a package before the store closed. Like we were just there for so long. He's like, I really feel bad leaving you guys, but I have to leave. And we're
Yeah.
like, go. Like he wasn't eating crawfish, so he didn't need to be there. It was fine if he wanted to
Yeah.
leave.
Yeah.
We're like, no, it's fine. Go. We'll just keep eating our crawfish. And then we got home, and because I still had not gotten my game night that we've been talking about, the three of us played games, and I found some new games that are so fun. One is called want to say it's called You're Old. It's something very similar to that if it's not. And it's like every card, one thing it's like you're old because, and if it's on there, you have to move your avocado up your like scale. And once you get to
Amazing.
10, you're old and you lose.
That's
Um,
amazing.
but on the other side of the card, there's a redeeming one, and it's something that you do when you're young. And so if you get redeemed, you get to move back down. And so you move up and
Oh,
down based on, and one of them made me think of you because it was like, never have I, it's basically never have I ever. It's like, never
yeah.
have I ever used MacGyver in a sentence. Like, like I'm MacGyvering this. And I was like, Mary Kay would lose when she was 3. Like,
Immediately. Immediately.
like no hope.
I mean, if the clue was never have I gone a day without talking about MacGyver, then I might have a chance.
I don't know. I'm still not sure if that's accurate, but
No,
okay.
no, I'm saying if
Yeah.
that is if I never have I gone not gone a day.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Only way I would have a chance is if they're like you have never spoken about MacGyver ever, or you've never gone a day without speaking about
Right.
MacGyver.
Correct.
If that is part of your
Um,
everyday language.
yeah, so it was super fun. And then we played a word game that it's called like a word game or it's something very generic, and I loved
Yeah.
it. I won both times. I'm the best at words.
Yeah.
And then we played a game called Brain Freeze that I bought Rachel for Christmas. and we were supposed to play it New Year's and we didn't get a chance to. And it
Mm,
is wild. I want to play it so bad with a group of people I don't know. Because it is chaotic and it asks like personal questions. And you're supposed to like when you match a symbol with someone, whoever can yell out their answer first gets the card. And then you'd keep pulling cards until someone matches your picture with you. And they're very like personal questions. And so like I'd love to play with people that I don't know because like then I wouldn't care, you know? Like and they all would know each other. And so I'd be like, I would win so fast.
yeah.
And it's just such chaos.
I oh, this is completely unrelated except for kind of because it's talking about you and New or Louisiana and your friends. This episode will not be out until May, but today while we were filming it, it is Caitlin and Jamie's anniversary. So
It is happy anniversary to them. 7 years.
man, so happy
I
anniversary, Caitlin and
know.
Jamie.
7 years on baby number two. Speaking of Caitlin, also kind of related. So I share my location with like 7 people, and Caitlin is one
Yeah.
of them. And so every now and then she just like opens her map to look at where all of her people are. And she just texts me when she sees that I'm in a place she doesn't expect me to be. And so I was like on the train between New Jersey and New York Friday. And she's like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, are you back in New York already?" I was like, let me
Just
give
for the
you a heads up.
weekend.
Yeah, I was like, here's all the places I'm going to be in the next 2 months. Don't panic. Let me lay it out for you. So, yeah, it's a good time. I still haven't seen her yet, but I haven't seen her in a year and a half because I didn't see her at Christmas either. So,
Well, I haven't seen her in like 7 years, so
well, I
no,
was like in her hometown.
I know.
You were not.
I know.
I was there.
I haven't been back to Louisiana in 7 years, so
Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, so I'm trying to live up my best New Orleans life for the time being
I love it.
while I figure out what I'm doing. And games and crawfish are all I want to do for the rest of my life. I am literally going home this weekend to have a very exciting Friday night. And then Saturday we have a crawfish boil that we're going to. So
I love
like
it.
it's just
Love it.
can't wait. And while I'm on the top of the world, please bring me a little more spiritual enlightenment
You
to
know,
keep us here.
it's so funny because we're actually like in a happy, dark, not dark place. So my quote is, of course, definitely not that.
Right.
But my quote for today says, "You know what it takes to make a star shine? A fuckload or a shitload of fucking darkness."
That is true. That is
Yeah.
true. Look, well, we did that.
We did that and now we're shining.
And now we're shining.
Yeah,
So
it's
here we
great.
are. If you're watching with all of my like astigmatism lights in the windows. So
Yeah,
lots of
great.
shining.
It's great.
So shall we?
We
This
shall.
week
Sorry,
is
just really quick, I
yes.
was on Pinterest because I was looking for that quote, and my homepage on Pinterest is just how to naturally conceive twins. Tips
That's
that
not
work.
that's not how that works.
I'm gonna save this to read it, but like,
Can I tell you the answer? Because it is be the next generation that comes next after for someone who is a twin in a
that yes
family.
and no. There, yes, that is true, but also, there are other factors. So like, we've already
Well,
figured
yeah, but
out.
that's like
So if
that's
you,
put you a lot closer than if you didn't
yeah,
have that.
yeah, if you are, um, over 30, the first time you conceive, is a
Mhm.
30% increase in your chances of it
Oh,
being twins. If the father is a fraternal twin, it's an additional 10%. So I got a 60-40 chance of it being twins. So let me just read that article to see if I can make it at least 50-50.
absolutely. I love it. I love it. I hope you have like 4 kids at once. I'm sorry. I don't hope that. I'm so sorry. I don't wish that upon you. It just escaped me.
My insides hurt just thinking about that. I would be happy with twins. I don't know about
Yeah. Quadruplets.
quadruplets. Ooh.
I'm so sorry. I am just drinking Coke. I'm on a sugar high, I think. I had a milkshake for breakfast. I don't know what's wrong with me. Um, I'm sorry. I wish you the
It's
best.
fine. It's fine. I'm great. Let's talk about something less happy.
Absolutely. Let's bring it down a bit. This is Hannibal, season one, episode two, Amuse Bouche,
Almost
which
bush.
I'm very pleased with these titles.
I
Um,
know.
it aired April 11th of 2013, and it was rated 8.2 out of 10.
Okay.
The number one song is Still Thrift Shop, as it
Of
probably will be for the
course
rest
it.
of our lives.
Yeah.
Number one movie is 42, which I have not seen, but it is about Jackie Robinson, but it's also a thriller. So it has to do with like Ricky Bookie or whoever his like coach is. Don't
Oh.
really know. I'm sorry, I don't really know the Jackie Robinson story. I just know that he is number 42. So that's how I knew it was about him before I looked it up. Um, and the number one book is Lover at Last by J.R. Ward, which is like the 11th in a romance series. So I have not read it. Um, on this day, a lot of things happened. The first thing that comes up is there's a Mexican drug war. Like I searched and it didn't even bring, like I always search on this day with the date. So then it usually
Yeah.
brings me to either the portal of current events from Wikipedia or the on this day website page. No, it literally just brought me to a Google article that was just about the Mexican drug wars. So it's like, okay, that was a
Oh,
big thing.
great.
Got you. Um, Madonna is accused of bullying after she was in Malawi. Um, Glee causes controversy because they released an episode about a school shooting.
Ooh.
Yeah. And last but certainly not least, and not any better, two women are beheaded for sorcery in Papua New Guinea in 2013. So women are still witches and still being killed.
Yeah.
It's
Uh,
fine.
Unrelated, but reasons that might make women want to feel the need to become witches. Dan just
So
texted
many.
me and asked me, what did you mean in your Insta post about having no job? My Insta post, or in my Insta story, it's the post about the podcast episode.
Tell him to learn how Instagram works and to read words because it literally says, I've seen your post. It literally has our handle at the top of it
Yeah.
and then has the picture. And also, it's not proper English. Like, are you posting something that's not proper English that's not podcast
No,
related? Like,
never.
so, but fair reason to want to become a witch. So,
Yeah.
yeah, bless his heart. Bless his heart. You might have to call him after this and she's like, here, let's talk. Um, so our director is Michael Reimer, and that may sound familiar,
It does.
not from Hannibal, but we know him from American Horror Story. He directed one episode, and it was Dark Cousin, which is the one where the Dark Angel arrives at the asylum.
Yes. Okay. I really liked
Mhm.
the visuals in that episode.
Yeah, yeah. Those are, it was
Which
very
is
dark.
interesting because my first comment I was going to say about this episode was that compared to last week, I'm much less confused. Like, I still don't
Yeah.
really fully get what's going on. There's a
Mm,
lot of moving pieces, but I didn't feel as completely lost this
yeah.
week as I did
But
last
still
week.
good visuals. Still good
Yeah.
visuals. Which I have some listed that particularly stuck out to me.
Less bloody visuals too. Like not
Yeah.
like much calmer.
Yeah. More violent but less bloody. So
Yeah.
way to go.
Right.
That's that's what we like. More violence, less blood. Um, writers, Brian Fuller, of course.
Of course.
And Jim Danger Gray, which is an excellent name.
It is an excellent
Um,
name.
excellent name. He is known for Orange is the New Black. He did 3 episodes. He did one episode of Torchwood and Pushing Daisies. So
Ugh, three
works with Brian
fantastic
Fuller.
shows. Yeah.
So I looked this man up. He
Yeah.
doesn't exist. He's not real. I've decided.
Oh
Um, I
man.
found one account for him on Instagram. Well, I found an account on Instagram that is for Jim
Yeah.
Danger Gray. There is only one. It is private, but it's like, quote is today I am a chocolate donut. And so
Yes.
I'm going to assume that that is this man. Because there is no other information for me to find about him.
Yeah,
I thought I
no.
found a TV Guide article that they said was about him. It was not. It did not say anything when I opened it. So everyone failed me. But
I'm just looking up what Torchwood episode he directed. Or
yeah, I was going to, and then I realized I don't know the episodes well enough because I watched the series like in college. So it's been a long time since I've watched it, and I've only seen it once.
okay, I just want to read you this is the beginning of the TARDIS Wikia page. Jim Gray got credit for both conceiving the story and co-writing the script of the Torchwood television story Escape to LA. His career seems to date only back to the mid 2000s. No one
Okay.
no one knows who he is. He's not real. He's
I
literally
told
not
you.
real.
I told you he's not real.
He's not real.
Yeah. No. So he's not real, but he wrote this episode. Um, and then our editor is Stephen Phillipson, who is known for Raised by Wolves, Prom Night in Mississippi, which I need to talk about for a minute because I did not know what this was, but it looked like a horror film. It is not. It is a
Oh,
documentary. It is a
it's
documentary about high school students and their first integrated prom.
I have heard of that actually.
It came out in 2009. I don't
Yes.
know. I did not look farther to see when their integrated prom was, if it was that year or not. I would guess pretty close though, because the high school students were involved in the documentary.
Yes. No, it
And
was like wildly,
yeah,
wildly late.
and Morgan Freeman's in it. Like
That's
it is
amazing.
so wild. So
That
maybe I'll
is
watch it one day. He is also known for American Gods and The
oh
Bold Type.
yeah. Sorry, if you look at the description, it says in 2008, actor Morgan Freeman offers to pay for a Mississippi high school's first ever integrated senior prom. 2008.
Yeah.
I was a
I figured
sophomore
it
in high school.
probably was within a
Yeah.
couple of years of the 2009 because
I
it
was
was the high
I
school.
was in high school.
Yeah, same. So
Don't worry,
good times.
I went to my first integrated prom in 2009, but that's because I went to my first prom in 2009.
Yeah, same. I think that was my first prom was 2009. That
Yep.
feels right. But yeah. So what a time to be alive. Yeah, not a whole lot about him on the internet either. So, but he has done a lot more work that you can find
Yeah.
him on.
He is
So
not imaginary.
he's not imaginary. He is indeed real. Also doesn't have a picture, but is indeed real. Also like Jim Danger Gray. What kind of a name is that for someone who's real? Like, not a real person. I'm so sorry, Jim. I'm sure you're lovely.
I honestly wish that I knew, I wish that he had some kind of internet presence so that we could reach out to him and get an interview just to prove that he's real.
True. We would be like breaking world records. Like we would take
Yeah.
over the internet. TikTok who? Like, come on. So today we were going to talk about our one of our stars, um, Mads Mikkelsen. It is
Mads,
spelled Mads,
but it's
but
not
I read
pronounced
it. It is not because he says it is Mass or Mass
Moss.
like Christmas. But
Moss.
he,
Moss. Yeah, that would make
Mass,
sense. Moss.
yeah. So Mads Mikkelsen, we did have the last name right.
Yes.
Who plays, of course, the one and only Hannibal Lecter. Um, he is known for The Hunt, Doctor Strange, and Another Round. Those are three different genres of movies that he
Very
is known
much. Yeah.
for,
Yeah.
by the way. He's on a ton of stuff. He is like
Also, his
all
character
over
in
the world.
Doctor Strange has one of my favorite names that's not a real name, but like I wish it was an acceptable name to name your child, and it's Caecilius. And
Mhm.
I just wish that I could name my child Caecilius without getting bullied.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because it is a very strange name. So I don't recommend. I mean, if you have four kids, maybe pick one of them
Yeah.
and like as a test.
You're the kid. I
Science,
don't care if they get bullied.
yeah, you're a scientific study now. Sorry. See how it goes. No, please don't bully your kids. Don't listen to me. He's also in Fantastic Beasts. So some fun facts about him. He was a professional dancer for 8 years and started doing Danish TV and film as a dancer and singer, I think it said.
Okay.
Um,
Cool.
he was knighted by Her Majesty in Denmark. Um, he owns, so this is not quite exciting as it is about what the title. So he's a big motorcycle guy, and the
Yeah.
motorcycle that he owns that's like famous is a 1937 Danish Nimbus. I did not know Nimbus was a type of motorcycle. I've only ever heard of it as a broom on Harry Potter. So,
Makes sense that that's where it like came from though.
yeah,
Like no.
no, it makes so much sense.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's
Apparently,
apparently,
apparently J.K. Rowling was like into Danish motorcycles.
yeah, I mean, Hagrid had his flying motorcycle. So, like,
Yeah, that's
again, well,
true.
I guess it was
Serious.
Sirius's initially, but
Yeah.
still. So that was fun. His favorite movie is Taxi Driver, which I still haven't seen, but everyone loves. I'm gonna watch it one day. Um, but last, certainly not least,
Oh boy.
certainly not. He plays the accountant in none other than Rihanna's Bitch Better Have My Money video. So,
Shut the fuck up.
can you, like, and it is listed on his IMDb. It's not just like in the notes, like, it is proper credit for it.
That is that is everything.
Truly the best fact that could have come from this.
The problem is like because of Rihanna being in Bates Motel, I just like now imagine all of her music videos as part of that world. And so like I'm imagining like Mads Mikkelsen being like the accountant at the banking firm that she worked for when she ran away, and the money that she stole that she left at the Bates Motel was actually his, and now he's gonna
Yeah.
come hunting Norman. But also he's still Hannibal Lecter.
He would also like befriend Norman though. He would come and hunt everyone else, but like he would take
Could
on
you
Norman as like his protege, you know?
Could you imagine a conversation between Norman Bates and Hannibal Lecter? But
That
like
sounds amazing.
not in general, like the Mads Mikkelsen,
Yeah.
Hannibal Lecter, and the
Oh,
Freddie Highmore
right.
Norman Bates.
Yeah. No, 100%. That would be the best day of my life.
I'm sure there's
Right
fan
behind the
fiction.
Jesse McCartney concert. Um, but yeah, I'm sure there is. I don't know. Do you think there is? Let's look into it.
I don't know that there's anything that exists that someone hasn't written fan fiction about.
I'm gonna write this down and I'm gonna find out. And if not, I'm gonna write it.
Okay.
Hannibal and Norman combo. Okay. Excellent, excellent. So now let's talk about the episode. So we start with a beautiful scene of bullet cases just like hitting the ground. Again, very
Yeah.
visual show. Again,
Yeah.
Brian Fuller. So
Right.
um turns out that Will is practicing shooting, and then he starts seeing a dead body. It's of Hobbs. I couldn't
But
remember his name in the beginning of the
I
episode.
I will say one of my favorite things about that scene, the visuals were great without even saying,
Mhm.
but the audio, like
Yeah,
the audio of the unmuffled sound of the shells like tinkling to the floor, and the shooting like being muffled in the background and then getting louder but never sounding like you didn't already have the headphones on. It was like wild.
yeah. It was really well done. And we're only in scene one.
Yeah.
Um, and so we see Hobbs' body like floating towards him, and then he wakes up
Hmm.
in Jake's car. And they are now at Garrett Jacob Hobbs' cabin. Um, not ideal, but they have to do it. And
Yeah.
so they go inside and they
Which
find,
the other thing I want to say is that I was really glad that they immediately went to the Shrike Nest, like as the first scene of this show, because I don't didn't know enough. Like I know nothing about the show except for that Hannibal and Will were the characters. Like we talked last week about how little we knew about the
Mhm.
show. And I was a little worried it was going to have a more story of the week feel to the murder
Yeah.
cases. And not that there isn't, like there obviously is like a case that they're solving in this episode, but I worry a lot of times you don't get good character development when you're doing
Hmm.
case of the week stories. And I was really wondering how they were going to balance that. So when it immediately started with not being a case of the week and being the continuation of that story, I that was exciting for me.
Yeah, it feels like it's gonna have a really good flow, and it flowed very well for having a
Mm,
different director and writer and editor
yeah.
from last episode as well. Like it was a very smooth transition
Yeah.
into both. And yeah, so we're at the cabin and we find a deer first, and then we find the head of a wolf, and then we find just a ton of antlers. Like this man had stocked up. Like, and we know he was using them on the girls, but why do you need like hundreds? Like, how do you even have the time? So, but he
Yeah,
was
it's
ready.
it's more about how long it took to stockpile that
Yeah,
collection than anything else. And also to
right.
arrange them in the way that he did. Creepy.
Yeah, but also like the time it will then take to get those girls. Like, we know that it's been taking him like roughly a week at a time to get a girl. And you don't need 100 back stock.
Yeah.
Like maybe keep 10. That feels more than enough. But no, this man has hundreds.
Yeah.
Um, so we have so yes, we have tons of antlers. We learned that there are 7 bodies still that have gone missing, that are still missing and not accounted for outside of Garrett Jacob Hobbs.
Yeah.
And so Jack's like maybe he was working with someone, and Jake, his name is Jake, right? Oh my gosh, I have forgotten his name. Now
Who?
I'm questioning. Um, you
Lawrence
know,
Fishburne
yeah,
is Jack. Is it Jack or is
Jack.
it
Okay.
Jake?
See,
I,
I wrote down Jake one time, then I wrote down Jack another time, and now I'm not sure if it's because I
I,
was watching Stargate or if it was because
hmm,
that's his name in the show.
I want to
Let's see.
say
It's Jack. It's Jack.
it's
Jack
Jack.
Crawford.
Okay, I was right.
Mhm.
Whew.
Okay. So Jack thinks that Garrett was hunting with his daughter Abigail, who is now in a coma, which like
Will is
what a
a
thing.
100% sure that that's wrong.
Yeah, he's like, no, he killed
Which,
alone, but
which, to be fair, I also think that that's wrong. Like
no, yeah,
my gut instinct, and this only my only expertise is hours and years of watching Criminal Minds and NCIS and the like. But my gut instinct is that your when you have such a specific targeted victim, like when you have a type that you are
hmm
targeting, the person that you are actually thinking about isn't helping you.
right. No,
Like,
and I
like,
think
like that would be like saying like, oh, all of Ted Bundy's victims look like his first wife, so she must be helping him kill them.
right. Yeah, no, it's a really crazy correlation to make. Like it doesn't
Yeah,
really make sense. So as
no.
like head of the FBI, or at least this FBI unit, that feels like a real stretch for Jack to make. But
I mean, I
we're
guess
fine, I guess.
I guess it makes sense that like it seems to be a lot for one person to have been doing,
Mhm.
and the only person he seems to care about at all is his daughter, so it would make sense if she was connected to it, but it just doesn't profile correctly.
Yeah. And I'll save my prediction for the end, but
Okay.
I have a prediction. Because I don't know that he was doing it 100% alone either. And we know
I
that
don't
there's a
oh,
copycat out there.
yeah.
And so like there's a lot of things in play right now, but I don't think it was the daughter, by any
No.
means.
No, never.
And so we also learned that someone else was at the cabin. And then we go to a scene with a naked woman sitting in a chair looking
I
at the
was
internet.
very confused by that
I
for
was
a
also
second.
very confused.
I literally looked at her face the entire time. Every time it went to her face, I was staring at her and I was like, I don't,
Yeah,
am I did I really forget an entire person from last week?
Yeah, I did that too. I was like, are they just like, and then I was like, are they being heavy-handed and she's been helping him? Like, is this, but
I was
that
like,
is not the case.
no, I really thought that I was so disengaged last week that I imagined that the girl working for the FBI was Asian.
Oh,
And like that's how confused I was about
that's
this
how far you
woman.
went. I see.
That's how far I went. I was so confused about this woman. I was like, that's the other psychiatrist. No, it's not. That's the FBI girl. Wait, no, she was Asian. What is happening? I was it was a wild 25
Yeah.
seconds for me.
Yeah. I also thought maybe I had missed her, but I didn't think she was any of those people. I just thought she was another person that I just didn't remember. Um, but then we go to the credits, which we didn't have last week, and
We
they
did
are
not.
very short and
Yeah.
very straightforward, and I like them.
I the song was not what I was expecting it to be, but I was fine with
That's
it.
fair. Yeah. But yeah, I like it. It's a quick visual. It sums
Yep.
it up, and it
Yep.
is good to go. Um, and so then we go back to the Academy at Quantico, and Will walks into it clapping, which he is not thrilled about.
He is not happy
Um,
about that.
no, and he is teaching about the case we just had with Garrett Jacob Hobbs, and he's like, "Here's like I solved this case based on the resignation letter. What is in this letter that makes you, think that?" And so everyone raises their hand,
And
and
he's
he's
like,
like,
wrong.
"Yeah," he's like, "No." Like, and he's like, "There's nothing in the letter that makes you think that. It's the stuff that's missing."
Yeah.
And he's like, he didn't leave a forwarding address, or he didn't leave any address, which is very strange for someone that's, working a job. Um,
I
and
mean,
then,
yeah, it is. I'm just trying to think, would I put my address on a resignation letter?
well,
I
I
don't.
think it was that was the only thing they had from him. They didn't have any other employee information about him other than this resignation letter. And like it was like his forwarding information.
That's how they found his house because the secretary went through the other stuff and in his file there was an address.
Oh, I thought they got it from someone else. But
No.
um maybe it was because like maybe they were supposed to leave a forwarding address at the end and he didn't. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't have the same brain as Will. So
No. I don't have a
and so he
brain.
was fair, fair. And so he's like, here's the thing is we need to figure out what else is going on because we need to stop the copycat before it happens again.
Yeah.
And so then our friend Jack comes in and lets Will know that he is approved to go back to the field after approximately 3 minutes of not being allowed to go. Like we've both known cops and like I've known cops that have, shot someone in the field whenever they were in danger. And there's like a process. It's not like tomorrow you're free to go back. It's like,
Right. And there's like the whole like there was a psych eval that needed to happen.
yeah,
Which yes, but that seems I would assume that there would be like mandatory therapy sessions leading up to the psych
right.
eval. Also I would
Yeah.
assume that you would not have one of the bureau's psychiatrists do it so that there wasn't a conflict of interest. Like all of this feels
And you
not
aren't allowed to like
correct.
go back and start shooting at the range again before you like have proof that you're comfortable with not having
Right,
PTSD with a
like
gun. Like,
how are you shooting at the bureau's range without the psych eval to even have your weapon back?
yeah, and I understand this is very picky and this is not necessarily important, but like, come on. Like they hadn't even made it to the cabin yet to examine it before he was released, which means it was not more than 48 hours before, like
Correct.
max 48 hours, I feel like, from the time that this happened to like, unless they're just really bad at their job and it took them a week or 2 weeks to get out to the cabin to examine it.
But then they also talk about the amount of time that Will has spent at the girl's hospital room, which also makes it feel like it's been like a week or 2 weeks. So like, what the fuck are you
That's
doing?
true. That's true too. So like they're wrong. We're just not 100% sure why. Which
Yeah,
thing were they wrong about?
their timeline is incorrect. I just don't know which of their timelines is incorrect, but one of their timelines is for
Right.
sure incorrect.
For sure. For sure. But anyways, he's approved to go back into the field.
Yeah.
Um, and this is also where we learned that he used to work at homicide before he started at the FBI. And so he's, had experience in these kind of
Mhm.
murders and whatnot before.
I,
And
s- I swear he
yeah.
also said another job that he had that was like completely unrelated to detectiving, like later in the episode. And it was okay. Do you have it written down? Because I don't
Yeah.
remember what it was. Okay, good. Good, good, good.
um, but yeah, and I said he needs to go to therapy still, like either Dr. Bloom or Hannibal, like he still needs to go to therapy for before all
How
this
about, or
happens.
also, how about definitely not Dr. Bloom or Dr. Lecter because they're both
No, for
completely
sure.
involved in this situation.
Yeah, no, it should definitely be a third party. But those were Jack's recommendations. And therapy, and he just kept saying therapy doesn't work on me. And like maybe that's why Hannibal's therapy works better because you both have weird brains, but like
Yeah.
also
Also, I know that it is a different situation and that this man is actually like a sociopath. Um,
mhm,
but every time a man says, but therapy doesn't work on me, it just makes me so angry.
yeah. Because no, therapy doesn't work if you don't let it work. Like,
Yeah.
but
The only
it's
reason
not,
therapy
you're
doesn't
not
work on
exempt
you is,
from
yeah,
therapy.
the only reason therapy's not working on you is because you still want to cheat on your girlfriend, Chad. Like, I don't,
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
which is
Um,
why I'm saying I know that that does not apply to Will. That's not what's happening here.
yeah, right.
However, there are some
Therapy would still
issues.
benefit him, even if it can't like
Fix
fix him.
him. Yeah.
Yeah. And, there's a lot to be said about like, does therapy actually fix you or does it help you find a place that is better for you? Like, there's depending on the people, depending on what it is. Like, therapy is definitely helpful, but it's definitely like
Yeah.
sometimes you're working through something and sometimes this is your brain and you have to figure out how to deal with it. Like,
Correct. Yeah,
and
for
so,
sure.
you know, um, so then we're with Hannibal and Will, our dream team. Um, and Hannibal says they're talking about, death and whatnot, and how he was like, you feel responsible for Abigail now. It's like you've gained a surrogate daughter because you
Yeah.
killed her dad. And he's like, you feel responsible. And he's like, well, don't you? And he was like, yes, absolutely. And I was like, I don't think you do. I don't know. But
I
Hannibal, I
don't
don't think you feel guilty.
I don't think he
Um,
does. But I also don't think that he should. Like, you know what I
no,
mean?
I
Like,
don't
I
either.
also don't think Will should feel as guilty as he
Yeah.
does. And obviously, we learn later in the episode that that guilt is not coming from the place Will thinks it's coming from in that
Yeah.
moment. Um, but no, but also good for Hannibal for not isolating. Like,
Hmm.
for as much, I get it. He's Hannibal Lecter. I get it. He's not a good
Hmm.
guy. We'll get there. But like, that is the correct thing to do as a therapist, especially if you have a similar situation. It's like you
No.
don't isolate them. You don't tell them that their feelings are only them. You figure out why they're feeling what they're feeling and dig through it before you let
Yeah.
them into it. Like,
And as a therapist, sure. As Hannibal Lecter, no, because now you're gonna make him feel like he's like you and you're gonna make him kill people. I just but
yes and no. You no. And here's the thing. Okay. All right. Can't not me 2 episodes in defending Hannibal Lecter.
here
But
we are.
you can help someone through their own baggage without being able to handle yours. And that doesn't make you a bad
Well, no,
there.
yeah.
Like, and it
That's not what I was
doesn't,
saying.
no, but it also
Yeah.
doesn't mean that like the person that you're helping process things is going to turn out like you. Because if that were true, there would be a lot more fucked up people. Because I know a lot of people who work in therapy and social care and like counseling,
Yeah.
and some of them are the most fucked up people I know. But that their ability to objectively isolate and work through problems with people doesn't mean that like those people are bound to
Right.
repeat their issues.
No, and I don't think it because of that reason. It's based on my working theory I have. That is what I think. I think it's a Hannibal manipulation. I don't think it is like I'm therapying you and now you feel like you owe me something. Like I think it's a manipulation. Um,
It's fair. I'm just saying you can be a serial killer and a really good therapist.
sure, sure, absolutely. This other guy that we saw that was
Jacob Kowalski.
yes. Um he was fine and I think he's getting proper help from Hannibal. But I think he's separate too. Like I think I don't think he has a sociopathic brain. I don't think he has a brain that would
Well,
lean
yeah,
towards,
I don't think that Will repeating Hannibal's mistakes is as much a Hannibal problem as it is a Will problem.
right. But I think he's finding those vulnerabilities in some of his patients. That's what I think is going to
Sure.
happen.
Oh, interesting. Like he's
Hmm.
seeking out the people that are like him.
Hmm.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah. So stay tuned for
But
my full theory.
but to be fair, Hannibal did not seek Will out. Jack sought Hannibal out for Will. So,
Right. Yeah. But then he's kept him. He didn't, you know, I got some
all
theories
right,
working.
all right.
Um, so, da, da, da. Yeah, so then Hannibal says it's possible that Abigail helped her father, and Jack's like and Will's like it's absolutely not. He's like, I
Eh,
understand Jack is saying that. I understand you're saying that like anything is possible,
But
so this is possible.
but
It's
yeah.
absolutely not possible, no.
But Hannibal also says he agrees. He doesn't
Yeah,
think it's Abigail, but he doesn't think that they are at a place where they can rule it out. And Will's like, yes, we can because like
yeah, right. Yeah. So they go back and forth. Hannibal is definitely much more in aware of his emotions and how to control his own feelings a lot
but
better
like
than
I also like want to know how he got like that. Like that's what's fascinating to me.
yeah, maybe we'll have a pre-Hannibal. Maybe we write. That's our next. I'm making us a lot of projects now. That's our next
Yeah.
project. We are going to write the show version of pre-Hannibal, baby Hannibal.
But we can't do that until we finish the show.
That's fine. Well, we can start writing it now and
Oh,
then tweak it as we go.
sorry. I saw a news article that I didn't read this week. I saved it because I didn't want to read it in case it was spoilery. But it was a news article. It was an interview where Moss Mickelson said that the Hannibal chapter is not closed and that there could be a reboot coming.
Ooh,
And that was
well, that's
this
still the
week.
opposite direction of what we need.
Yeah,
So, still the opposite direction. But
but you don't
yeah,
know. You don't know. It could be a reboot that has flashbacks.
I guess that's true. I guess that's true. We could get some flashbacks. So,
Yeah.
we'll see. And
No, I
if not,
really
we'll
want to
write
read the
it.
article. I really want to read the article, but I like have no idea how
Don't
much
do it.
information about the show it's going
Don't
to have in
do
it.
it. No. No. Yeah.
Maybe I'll make Dan
You
read it
can
for
send it to
me.
Monica.
No, but well, Dan's already watched the show, so maybe I'll make him
Oh,
read
right, right,
it
right.
and tell me if there's anything pertinent that
Keep
is
forgetting
spoiler
he's
free.
watched the show because I know Monica watched it, but I keep forgetting that he watched it.
Because it's so
It's
unlike anything that he would
it's
ever
so
watch.
undan. Yeah. Yeah. So it's fine. Yeah, send it to him. Make him figure it out.
Yeah.
Um, so now we're in Elk Neck State Forest, Maryland. Um, and we are with three boys. And at first I thought this was a flashback, and it was not. This is current day. Um, there's three boys, they're walking around, just, being boys in the woods, and they are like, this is weed. No, it's not. Yeah, it is. And then they walk closer, and it is not. It is a garden of mushrooms with human hands and IVs coming out of the ground.
It's the most
Um,
fucked up thing I've ever seen.
yeah, yeah. And they've clearly been there a while. I've watched a lot of horror now, and I've watched, a lot of weird stuff, and like not what I would have guessed in a million years was about to happen.
No.
1 million years, I would not have guessed this was our next move. Um, and then we go back to the shooting range, and Will is practicing his shooting again. And the scientist that we don't like, that I keep forgetting her name, that's what I called her.
who is not the naked girl.
She's not the naked girl. They are different people. Um, she apparently gets on really good with Will. They're apparently like really good friends because they're just like having a lot of good camaraderie and whatnot.
Which is
And
it is actually interesting because it makes sense because she's very annoying, which
mhm,
but Will and his ability to empathize past the point of like anything that makes sense would like get it and she would be like, "Oh my God, somebody who doesn't find me annoying." Like it does make sense that
right.
that's the perfect friendship because they both
Yeah,
can't have other friends.
exactly. And so it totally makes sense. But she positions him and helps him become a better shooter, which is very nice. Um, and then she had come down to ask him about gardening. And he's like, okay, like what a random topic.
Yeah.
But alas, it is not because we go to the garden crime scene. And this is where Will has been, they're like, Will has been released by Hannibal. He's been approved from his psych eval. Let him onto this, even though he's already been at the Strike's cabin before this, but
Correct.
after he shot him. So like again, nothing makes sense. It's fine. Um, and we learned that there were 9 bodies that were being quickly decomposed. So they had elements that were making them decompose faster, and it was a lot to do with the mushrooms that were growing around them that were
Yeah.
living and interacting with their body chemicals. Um, and the scientists start the like everyone's talking. The scientists are like, oh, he's just lazy. Like that's why everything is shallow. That's why he just threw these mushrooms over him. And Will's like, he's
Yeah.
absolutely not. This was very particular for a
Yeah.
very particular reason. Um,
You can tell
so
you can tell just by the way that they were lined up in exactly
mhm.
equal rows. Nothing about this was lazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. It was very planned. It was very, meant to be this way. Um, So then the creepy naked lady shows up fully clothed and says she's one of the kids' moms who found the body so that she can get information from the local detective. And which we
What a
know is not true.
bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I put it's time for the scanning thing. So we have
Yes, I did. I made a note of that because I was like, okay, I appreciate that they did it again for consistency because if they had only done it in the first episode, it would have been awful.
mhm,
I also appreciated that it wasn't until like 35 minutes into this episode because
yeah.
like so it didn't feel overwhelming and it was just the once and I was like, okay,
Right. It made much more sense. So
yes.
he's backing up to the burying of the bodies and he starts talking about how there was no binding of the arms, there was no binding of the legs. They were buried alive, which is not great.
Yeah.
Um,
And they
but
were
they were,
deliberately kept alive
yes, they were
to,
deliberately kept alive, but they didn't know they were dying. Like they were unaware they were dying. Um, and then he sees Hobbs in the grave. And then also one of the bodies is still alive and
that,
reaches
oh my
for grabs
God, when
him.
the body reached out and grabbed him, I was like, oh, no, 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 no.
I know. I was like, oh my God, this is too much, too much, too much. Um, yeah, so that's exciting. That's fun. What a good time. So
What a good, a fun time
then
was had by all.
a fun time was had by all. So then we go back to Will and Hannibal, and he's telling him about seeing Hobbs in the grave, and he's
Yeah,
like, I don't know what's wrong with me. Like, is he like, he's like, this is my ghost or whatever. And this is where they talk about, you know, is that really why you think you saw him? Like, do you think it was maybe something else and, therapy, whatnot? And
yeah,
then they talk about that he left the hands out because he was trying to keep them alive. And that was what they were using. They had the IVs attached to him.
yeah.
But they had all died except the last one, but then he died on the way to the hospital. So
Right.
he failed in his like planting of these people's bodies. And so then the crazy woman is there. Um, and she's been listening to their conversation by the door with a recorder. And whenever she comes in, um, Hannibal calls her Miss Kimball. And so we're like, okay, we have a name for her. It's not her name still. But then it just confused me completely.
Yeah.
And so
I
she
don't think I
comes
ever
in.
figured out what her actual name was.
I will tell you. I will tell you.
Okay.
We will get
Okay.
there. So she tells him, she's like, I'm testing out three different therapists. Like, I really want to make sure I get the right fit. And he, says all the right things. He's like, great, you do want that to move forward. And she's like, can I ask you some questions first? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. And then she starts asking him about like everything going on. And he's like, you're a journalist. You're Freddie Lowndes.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. And so then I was like, is that really her name or is that a fake name? It's like, but that is indeed her real name.
Yes.
Um, and so we learn that she's Freddie Lowndes, who's a journalist. And she starts by telling him, she's like, I only recorded our conversation. Like, I wanted to see how it went. And then he just like stares at her. Like, he says some other things, but he doesn't like bring it out. And she's just like, okay, I also recorded Will Graham's conversation. Like, she just so forthcoming. I was like, you might be a good journalist, but you are a terrible liar. Like, you cannot do anything to
Yeah.
hold your life. And she admits to it all. And he makes her, delete it and then says, okay, let's talk. And then we leave. So we don't know what they talk about. Um, and so we go to Hannibal and Jack, and I just put, oh, good. Now he's feeding Jack. So
Yeah.
steadily feeding humans to all of the people that work at the FBI. He says it's loin. He was like, I'm feeding you loin. And I was like, never has anyone called a meat a loin without it being pork loin. You always say pork loin when you have it.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, what kind is it? And he's like, pork. And I was like, okay, sure. Yeah, no,
Sure.
that was not shady at all. Fine. Um, but they talk about it and they're talking about Will, of course, and Hannibal tells Jack, he's like, you think Will is, quote, like broken pony. He's like, you've seen other people get broken in the field and you don't want that to happen to him as well. And so you're trying
Right.
to be very cautious, but at the same time, like, you're still putting him in these situations when you don't really fully believe he's capable necessarily because he's this broken pony.
You're like afraid
Um,
to lose him.
right. And so then we go back to the Quantico lab and we learn that all of these victims have died from kidney failure. And so immediately the scientists are like alcoholics, no question, easy get. They're addicts. They're.
I did not jump to that conclusion. If it was liver failure, I would have immediately jumped to
Right.
alcoholics. But kidney failure, I immediately jumped to diabetics.
Yeah. And like when he said kidney failure, I wrote it down. And then when they said, oh, they're all alcoholics, I was like, did I hear that wrong? It's like, did they say liver failure?
Right. You're like,
That was
did I make a mistake? Did
right.
I
But
no.
no, in fact, Will steps in and does say that they are diabetic and that the reason that they're not aware that they're alive or dying or whatever is because he puts them in a diabetic coma before he buries them,
Which
which is
is
just
just
terrifying.
God. It's the most insane thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, like I can't imagine. And so then we go to a pharmacy. And because you're thinking, is it a doctor? Is it someone they know? Like, what is it? No. We go to a pharmacy and we see the pharmacist is giving out his next victims inaccurate insulin. He gets her name as Karen Speck or Gretchen Speck because I read it two different ways in the notes that I was reading. But last name is Speck regardless.
Yeah.
And he says, "Oh, we have the wrong one for you." And you see that he puts back one vial of insulin and grabs another. So clearly he's like messed with one of them. And so he gives it to her, and then another woman comes in, Miss Jacobs, and so I'm like, "Oh gosh, she gonna be another victim too now? Like, what are we
Right.
doing?" But at this moment, the FBI is also storming into this pharmacy because they have
Yeah.
like cross-checked all the databases where everyone's coming from and, figuring out what's going on. And so Will, yeah, so they go in and they're like, is he here? And they're like, he was just here. And they're like, is
He
his car
literally
still
just
here?
left.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
they go outside and find his car, and Will busts through the window, opens the trunk, and Karen is buried in his trunk in like soil. Like it is so wild. Um, and then Freddie posts an article about Will that says takes one to know one. And what a choice. What a way to do things. My goodness. And then Hannibal also reads the article. So now everyone is like on board. These are the things we're seeing. Um, And so we go back to Freddie, and the FBI just like busts in and handcuffs her. And Jack is so mad. And he's like, how do you even have this information? Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
This is nonsense. And she's just like, oh, I just had a little help. And they keep panning in on this guy in the back. So obviously, his name is Zeller. I think I wrote, yeah, his name is Zeller. So obviously, he had something to do with this. But she blames it on like, I have a couple people that I've been like talking to, including a local cop.
Yeah,
And
she blames it on like the
um,
cop from the forest.
yeah. And she is just like basically like, this is how it is. You can't arrest me for, writing articles. You can't arrest me for, going on to crime scenes when I was escorted by the police. And he was like, but I can't arrest you for obstructing justice. And it turns out that the other person who was at the strike was Freddie.
Well, obviously, you saw the pictures she had. She got those
Hmm.
from somewhere.
Yeah. So, and then of course they're uncuffing her and everyone else is left. And Zeller's like, you've set me up. And I mean, don't be dumb. I don't know.
Yep.
What do I tell you? What can I tell you? So we go back to the hospital, and Will's been sitting with Abigail when he starts seeing a moose because he's heard like clacking. And a woman walks in while he's sleeping, and I couldn't tell who she was at first, but it turns out that it was Dr. Bloom. And
Yeah. I wasn't sure at
it's
first either,
fine.
but I was like, oh no,
Yeah.
she's okay. She can be
Yeah.
there.
So she covers Will up and starts reading Flannery O'Connor to Abigail. And Will calls out the fact that he's like, this is the first time we've ever been alone in a room together. So it seems that she was clearly talking about Will the whole time. Last time when we had that conversation about who was she referring to? Seems it was
Yes.
Will. And so
I did feel a little justified that I understood that scene. I was like, oh good, I'm not
yeah,
completely stupid.
right. And so they have a few conversations here and there, but they're all very like, minimal, not as nearly
Yeah.
anything. And then we get this really fun, like smoky scene with like elements. And I thought it was water at first, turns out it was coffee. And that visual was just like very
Mm.
relaxing. And I really liked it. Um, and it's Freddie. We go to Freddie. And so she walks outside to find the local cop, and he's been suspended. And she is 0% surprised. She's like, yeah, you're going to be fired soon. But here's the thing, I have a
She's
job for
like,
you. Like,
and he
yeah,
was like, oh, so I'm not the first cop you've gotten fired. And he was like livid about that.
yeah,
He was like, I was like, you dance with the devil. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
right. And she's like, you're going to thank me later. Like, you're going to make so much more money. It's going to be so much more fulfilling. Don't even worry about it. And then um, the pharmacist comes up and shoots him point blank.
Just point blank out of nowhere. That shocked me.
Yep, that shocked me. And then he starts asking Freddie about Will. And then we skip that scene. We don't get to see all of it until Jack comes over and Freddie's like at the EMT and like, being checked out or whatever. And he's like, what did you tell her? Or what did you tell him? And she's like, everything. And I was like, okay,
What a
woman, crazy
dumb
woman.
bitch.
Yeah, so absolutely insane. Um, But she was like, you should like, where's Will? Where's Will? And he's like, oh, you like what? He says something about like why he's not there or whatever. And she's like, that's not what I'm asking about. And then he knows he needs to go find him. Um,
Yeah.
and so, so we go to the hospital, and Stamets goes in, who's the pharmacist, goes in and immediately goes in, puts on scrubs. Like he looks like he works there now. And I was like, great, excellent. He's too smart for this.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same moment, Jack is calling Will. And so Will runs back into Abigail's room, but he's too late. And her body is missing. And so now he's hunting her down. And one of the nurses says that they took her for tests. And he's like, who? He's like, she's like, I don't know. And I'm like, that feels a little loose. Like, aren't
I
people supposed to
mean,
like sign out people to take tests on them? Like,
to be fair, that is not how it works. Like that's how it's supposed to work. I feel like everybody in the hospital should all be on the same page, but that's never how it actually
no.
works. The number of times when Dan's sister was in the hospital that like departments just did not communicate with each other.
Mhm.
Like radiology was not talking to cardiology and like nobody knew what the hell was happening.
Right. It's
Yeah.
It's crazy. So he finally does find them and then shoots Stamets in the shoulder because he's not trying to kill
Hmm.
him. And he
Yeah.
asked what he was going to do. And of course, he was going to bury her. He was like, I'm going to plant her. And then you
Yeah.
can like find her.
You
She'll find
you
you
can
too.
come
And I was like,
visit you. Like you can come visit her
yeah,
and like understand her and be a part of this. And it's like, what the fuck
yeah,
is
it's too
wrong
much.
with you?
Yeah. So then we have Hannibal and Will who are discussing the shootings, both of them. And this is where he learns that it's not Hobbs's ghost that's necessarily following him. It's kind of in his, it's his own being or whatever.
Yeah.
And he said he even thought about killing Stamets, and he was like, I like he says that he admitted that it felt good to kill Hobbs
Yeah.
and all of this stuff. And this is where he said he should have just stayed and been um a boat like a boat builder or something in
Yes.
Louisiana, a boat engine person in Louisiana. Um, but then they talk about how, he needs someone to help, steer his boat. And he's like, Hannibal is supposed to be Will's paddle. And I was like, not great. Maybe find someone else. Um,
Yeah.
and then Hannibal says that God must also like killing people because he keeps doing it. And
That
so
was
he's now
wild.
like, you're both doing the same thing. He's like, he just killed a whole church load of people last week. So
That was
here we are.
wild. And but Will goes, "Do you think that it made him happy?" And he goes, "Well, it made him feel powerful."
Yeah. So yeah. And then we end on this like conundrum of what's gonna be next. Um,
Wild.
do you have any thoughts, predictions before I get into my theory and then all of our trivia?
I don't know. I mean, I think that Hannibal's more involved in the case than just helping solve it because I don't think it makes any sense for him to have called Hobbs last week, without there being more to it.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that that's where his responsibility comes from, not from guilt. Um, I think that this fucking reporter chick is going to be a bigger problem than just this one thing. Um,
Mhm.
but I don't know.
So my theory is that Hannibal is involved in all of these things. I think that he's kind of like the puppet master. I think these are people who have either gone to his therapy or that he's found through some of his therapy work, and he has sought out their specific like deviant feeling or whatever. So like you have the
Yeah.
guy with the antlers, you have this guy who's now planning people, and I
See,
think he's like helping them mentally curate, and he's using it as like his way of testing out to see what happens.
see,
And so I don't think he's actively doing it.
I didn't feel like he was connected to the mushroom guy as much. Like I definitely see a connection with Hobbs, but I didn't feel like he was connected to the mushroom guy. I felt like that guy was just fucking weird.
I think he is weird, but you see that like all he wants is a connection. And so like I wonder if he had a previous connection to him because we don't see Hannibal
That's true.
involved in the mushroom case at all.
That's
All
true.
we see Hannibal is with Will this week.
Yeah.
And so, and maybe he's not connected to every case, but I think that that might be what's happening is he's kind of a puppet master and he's using his
Interesting.
therapy practice to cultivate people. And I think that he's going to try and do that with Will. He's going to try and find what deviation he can find in Will and use that to create this monster
Fair enough. Yeah.
or try to create a monster. I don't know if it's gonna be successful.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's my prediction. So I have some trivia for you. Um,
Please.
so Eldon Stamets, who is our pharmacist, is
Yeah.
named for Paul Stamets, who is an American mycologist, author, and an advocate of bioremediation. He is not a monster.
I was gonna
He
say
is
that I
a
feel like that would
scientist and
be
an educator.
I was like, I feel like I would be a little bit offended if they named a fucking creepy mushroom dude after me.
Yeah. So that's funny you say that because 4 years later, there was also a character in Star Trek named Stamets that was based off of him. who was like the savior of the episode. And when you look at Paul Stamets' Wikipedia, Hannibal is not listed. Star Trek is when you look at like
Yeah.
I don't remember what they call it. I want to say adaptations, but that's not what it is.
Like
But like connections or
references.
whatever.
Yeah.
And like connections in pop culture or something. And Hannibal is not listed. And I was like, I mean, I get it.
I get it.
But
Yeah.
yeah. So he's not a murderer as far as we know, but he is based off of him. Um, Abigail Hobbs was also the name of one of the women in the Salem witch trials. Speaking of people killed for
Okay.
sorcery. Um, amuse-bouche is a single bite-sized hors d'oeuvre that's not on the menu but is given gratis by the chef. And
And
so,
the translation in French is excitement of the mouth.
oh, I didn't even look that up. I
Yes.
love it. So, of course, another food,
It's
correlation. Um, this is the first appearance of Freddie Lounds in the series. She will be recurring. She is in other movies. She is a big character in the books, it seems. I don't know. I
yeah.
haven't read them all. I
Right.
haven't read any of them. But in the original series and in the book, she is a man. She is not a woman. So this is the first time that a woman is playing Freddie Lounds. Um,
Okay.
so Shalon Simmons, who plays Speck, also played a character by the same name in Wonder Falls, um, which also starred Caroline DeVerness, who's in this. And the comment when she says losing the hyphen and keeping the ring right before, when he gives her the insulin, were her
Yeah.
parting words on Wonder Falls. So it was like a callback to that
Nice.
show, which is very fun.
Which, you know, how
Um,
Brian Fuller's shows are all culty and
yeah,
connected.
right. Yeah, so that is my trivia for you. Who do you want to punch in the face?
Freddie.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. She did a lot that messed with a lot of people. I am gonna pick Stamets,
Well, yeah,
because
because he's a Creed.
planting people and whatnot, it's not cool. Who is your MVP?
Um, Hannibal.
2 episodes in. 2 episodes in, and we're
No.
going strong. Going strong.
Well, no,
Fine.
I think the part one would be the idea of like him actually helping Will with his breakthrough. Whatever his
Mhm.
end goals would be, he did help Will process a lot in this episode.
Right.
And B, he was willing to give Freddie a chance. Um, but then she lied and took everything that she said that she learned from his interviews and like still made the article anyway. And he was like, yeah, about that.
I'm not convinced he didn't give her some fuel for that article.
Yeah,
There
but
were a lot of conversations we didn't see.
there was, but I was under the impression that the fact that she still wrote it after he told her not to was
Mhm.
why Jack was able to get her. Like I was under the impression that Hannibal helped suss that out.
Yeah, and that's possible. That's possible.
Yeah. That's the impression I got from it. I may
Mhm.
be wrong, but that's how it felt.
Yeah,
So,
maybe. We'll see. We'll see. I'm sure we'll learn more about that.
yeah.
So I'm gonna go with Will because he did save Abigail before she got planted. And he
Mhm.
did break into the car and get Speck before she was
Died.
actually planted in the ground and
Yeah.
not just in the dirt. So, and he's the only one who was like, it's diabetes, not alcohol. My God.
Scientists who
So
don't know organs.
right. So, that's nice. So I'm gonna go with him, I think. Um, so since we haven't seen the show, we don't have any spoilers for next week. I'm sure that, all these people will still be in the next episode.
Yeah.
But otherwise, if you have any comments, questions, feelings, no spoilers, you can email us deathandaliens@gmail.com. You can find us on all of the social media at Death and Aliens. You can find me at CECloud13.
And you can follow me everywhere at EMKAY_superstar.
And we will see you for our next episode of Sci-Fi Sunday.
Bye.